Daniela Morgan from Sweet Little Stitches here, and I'm going to show you the stitches that we do in block 1, Be Curious, of the Be Beautiful Quilt Along. The stitch that we're going to use the most often, and is probably the most utilized embroidery stitch, is the back stitch. And we outline the cat and the whiskers, the ears, the flower petals, they're all done with the back stitch. So I'm going to show you how to do the back stitch. I just drew some lines here to demonstrate the stitches. Normally I would use a pen that irons out, but I just used a permanent one for right now. Okay, so for the back stitch, you're going to start a small amount away from your starting point. So if the beginning of your line is right here, you're going to want to bring your needle up from underneath about right there. And then you're going to want to reinsert the needle, go underneath from the beginning of your line. Now you're gonna want to make your stitches even. You're going to try to stay on the line when you do it to keep them together. You're gonna want to go about the same distance away. Insert your needle again from underneath. And put your needle back in the same hole that you came out originally. And you're going to want to continue that way until you have your entire line filled, or until you have your shape outlined. Now, if you were to be doing a curve, you may want to shorten the length of your stitches so that you don't end up with jagged edges. Okay, the next stitch I'm going to show you is the running stitch, and the running stitch is what we use to do the bee outline, and we're going to use this in every block where the bee is flying to do its path. So I'm going to go on this wavy line here, and the running stitch is the most basic of stitches. Some people like to do the running stitch where they put their needle in and go in and out like this, like you would if you were quilting. I don't like to do that because, as you can see, it kind of bunches your fabric. So I'm just going to go back under here and show you how I continue. So I like to do it one stitch at a time because I find that you get the least bunching of your stitches. And you'll find if you get too much bunching of your stitches, it will really shrink the size of your completed block. So to eliminate that, I do like I said, and I put the needle in and down through and come back up every time. I don't just go through the fabric multiple times in one pass. And you can see I'm trying to keep the space equidistant between each of the stitches. Just do the best that you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're not a computer. And so when you're doing the path that the bee is flying on, you'll just continue this same way. It goes by really fast. This is the easiest stitch that you can do. And you'll just go along that path until you're finished. The next stitch I'm going to show you is the satin stitch, and this is a stitch that you're going to be using to fill in the body of the bee. You're going to be filling in the cat's eyes and the flower centers. When I do my satin stitch, I like to start at the widest part of whatever I'm doing. So I like to start at the center of the circle and then go out from the center of the circle. I find that you get more consistency if you start at the widest part and then make it smaller, as opposed to just starting at one end of a circle. Now, if you were doing a square or something that was perfectly even in size, it wouldn't be a big deal. You could just start at the end. But when you start at the short end of the circle, you sometimes end up with a point instead of a rounded end, and, well, you don't really want a pointy circle. So I'm just going to go from edge to edge and fill in. You want to make these lines really close together. It's okay to go back in if you don't get it exactly where you want it. That'll give you a little bit thicker satin stitch. As you can see, I'm just staying on the lines here. I'm going straight across from edge to edge. See, I have a nice smooth circle, and then I just go, once I get one side finished, I just go back to the center and start heading to the other side. And the last stitch that I'm going to show you, the last stitch that we use in this block is the stem stitch, and that's what we use to do the stems of the flowers, and that's what I also use for the cat's tail. And this is a really great stitch for doing like vines, anything that you want to have a little more texture. It looks kind of like a rope. So you're going to start at the beginning of your line with this. You are going to want to use the thumb that you are not holding the needle with to hold your excess thread that's not in the fabric in place. And you're going to want to insert your needle a little ways away. Okay, now you're going to want to keep holding that there. You're going to want to come up about halfway, about in the middle of where you took the stitch. And you're going to pull it out, and you are going to hold this in place until you've pulled your thread the whole way through. Okay, you're always going to want the previous stitch to be underneath of the next stitch, if that makes sense. Okay, so see, I'm holding my excess thread. Insert the needle a little ways away, and for the next stitch you come in and you're going to want to insert it where your last stitch ended. Okay, keep holding your excess thread. We've pulled this the whole way through, let go. And you're going to continue that way for the whole length, whatever you're stitching. Always making sure that this thread is on the bottom, so your previous stitch is underneath